Hey everyone! So for those of you who aren't aware, there is a smaller user here on YouTube by the name of Jim Jesus, an egoist, right libertarian quote-unquote, who's been creepily obsessing over me basically since I opened my YouTube channel, and it's just progressively gotten worse and worse. His entire Twitter feed is nothing but posts about me with some occasional exceptions, but bottom line is that he's just has this borderline stalkerish obsession with me, and he relentlessly lies and tries to smear me and everything I'm associated with at every turn. Basically, everything I do has some sort of implied message behind it, which was no way intended, or even with the added context of what I said in any other situation. My side projects like FNet or my involvement with the Tsar Bomba are all nothing, even though that's just demonstrably incorrect to the point where you'd have to deny observable reality to make these claims. So, typically I just ignore him because he's never once approached me in good faith, so I feel that discussion with him would be a gigantic waste of time. And I don't even have to say anything to him to have him prove this point for me. Now, long story short, I recently rejoined Dapperton's Discord server because, hey, we were getting along again and I was enjoying having conversations with him. We're not hostile towards each other anymore, but during the drama that occurred earlier this year, Jim Jesus saw that I was beginning to feud with Dapperton and weaseled his way into Dapperton's circles, into the drama, simply because I was involved in it. So he managed to work his way into a comfortable position by Dapperton's side. At first I simply ignored him in Dapperton's server. I figured things would be fine as long as he didn't try and pull any shit. I could just ignore him. Well, not even a whole week later, and unfortunately some shit indeed went down. So here's a little bit of backstory. Back when I was still associating with Blue, I recorded some of our conversations because a small part of me was hesitant about trusting him, so I recorded a series of these conversations in which Blue exposes himself as the manipulative asshole he is in Discord VC. Well, after this and I'd turned against Blue, I'd also recorded a series of audio files where I coaxed Blue into saying unethical things while not being aware of the fact that I was recording him. I dumped all of these audio files onto a server, collecting evidence to expose Blue's activities and to help spread awareness about who Blue really is, with their proper context. Well, somehow these files made their way to Jim, and Jim uploaded them all to a channel entitled Blue Backup, and he uploaded my recordings of me talking about doing unethical things with Blue in order to coax Blue into talking about it, and presented them as if I was colluding with Blue and was actually planning on doing these things with Blue. What the fuck? So at first I'd thought that someone in the Discord server exposing Blue created that channel, but as it turns out the channel was created by Jim Jesus. So I went to Jim and I told him, hey, you're not presenting these recordings in their proper context despite having made their actual context very clear. I mean, I wasn't even that confrontational about it because, for all I knew, he could have just been sent the files and didn't actually know their proper context, so I was giving him the benefit of the doubt, and oh boy, was that a mistake. Basically, after that, he launched himself into a nonsensical tirade of character assassinations and non sequiturs relating to previously refuted accusations of activity I was supposedly involved in during the drama a few months back. So I called him out on this and simply asked for him to stay on topic and answer me as to why he was lying about me. At this point, I was pretty much convinced that he was lying, since he was doing everything that he could to dodge the subject and was not giving me a concise answer. Then his behavior went from obnoxious to being downright fucking creepy and unethical. So Jim starts linking one of my ED articles. Yeah, I have an ED article. 2 of them, actually. I make the Spurgs so ass mad that I have 2 ED articles about me. I actually feel kind of proud, honestly. But anyway, he claims that this is my real identity because that article lists a power word, quote unquote, which Already, this is starting to get a bit out of hand, as I was simply asking him to explain why he was misrepresenting recordings I'd made to expose Blue and get more dirt on him, and presented them as if I was working with Blue and lying about my general intentions. And now he's starting to try and intimidate me with what he thinks is my personal information, which, by the way, I find it really amusing when people try and use this ED page as a source of information about me, because, for one thing, pretty much all of it is just demonstrably wrong. I'd say maybe about 5% of what's actually on there is accurate, and that's to be expected, since most people forget that ED is a parody website, so anyone who uses it as a legitimate source of information is basically just outing themselves as someone who is completely incompetent and not credible. But also, that is an alias, which I've used back when I was running my old ED page and on a few other websites. In fact, I used 3 different identities when I was on my old ED page. I had multiple pseudonyms, and I have never given away my real name to any website, so I don't actually have a power word, and anyone who throws it at me is only making themselves look like pathetic little weasels who try and intimidate me for disagreeing with them because they can't have a simple discussion. So I point this out, that this isn't my real name, and what Jim does next defies belief. So apparently he'd been searching around for my private information for quite a while before that, which I don't even think I need to point out how unsettling that is, but he found a Facebook page I was running actively until about 2015 where I identified with that same alias but with a slightly different spelling. And there are older posts in which I had a different alias as well, but regardless, he started typing around different variants of that alias and found this page. And he argues that this was an attempt to do to me what I did to Dapperton back during the drama when the McNuke was a thing. Which, I mean, first of all, I publicly apologize, and to Dapperton already for this. So that's not even something that I stand by. And that was a pretty horrible thing to do, and I really wish I could take that back. But that picture of his kid, that was literally his MySpace account icon under his name, which he himself gave away. So it was a really shitty thing to do, but I mean, I never gave away my Facebook page, so as far as the internet was concerned, that was private information. So Jim linked my Facebook page and started spreading around the actual identities of my fucking family members to other people in the server, who then began to harass me with them. Let me repeat that. He actually doxed my family! And he did this all because he's too much of a fucking little chicken shit to change a minor little screw-up. Seriously, if he just said, "Oh, sorry, I wasn't aware that the audio was out of context, I'll change the description really quickly to clarify," I and no one else would have given the issue another thought. But no, he's gotta go full fucking career suicide mode over it and dox my goddamn family. And he got a few spurgs to actually start harassing me with this information after I consequently left the server. And that's not a term which I like to use given its crybaby connotation, but by definition I'm pretty fucking sure that doxing my family members, relentlessly trying to find my personal information, and getting people to send me messages taunting me with this, and partaking in activity like this for over a year and a half, falls under the definition of harassment, especially when there are groups like Antifa who despise me and would actually like to do harm to me and my family. So I would ignore this and wait for it to go away, but I felt as if people should be made aware of some of the activities this living gash of what can generously be described as a man has been up to, and with how erratic and mentally unstable he's shown himself to be with his actions. I feel as if I need to expose him to the broader community for what he's done. And no, Jim, you can't weasel your way out of this one by arguing that this was public information. I never gave away my Facebook page publicly, and I never identified with that alias publicly. Plus, you yourself acknowledged that you believed this was my private information, so don't even try to use mental gymnastics to get yourself out of this one, because you're significantly fucked. He apparently also found some local article from an LGBT protest, which I wasn't even aware of until like a month ago, where a friend of mine who I've known since like middle school used that same alias. And Jim used this to prove that I went to the same protest. The name Albert, by the way, which is the alias that I most commonly identify with, is an inside joke, hence why other people identify with it. But despite the fact that I've made videos explaining why I don't believe protesting achieves political change for a cause that I don't think is super important in the current political climate, and gave some reporter my real name, apparently, this is key proof. Yeah, no, you're a fucking joke, Jim. Now all that's left is for us to admire the irony of Jim doxing my family to try and argue that I doxed someone's family. Anyway, see you all next time.